my kind and inquisitive Virgo friend. Hello and welcome. My name is Mina, and I'm here to offer you a 3-card reading exploring the themes of you, your path, and your potential. I invite you to consider what the reading reveals about possible challenges, opportunities, and personal growth for the week ahead. Take a deep breath, rest your mind, and let's see what the cards have to share with you today. Virgo, as this week opens, there's a quiet pressure in the air you can almost taste. A gentle tightening behind your thoughts, as if you're being quietly called to find the right answer, the right posture, the right way to manage what's emerging. You might sense a kind of invisible standard, one that you set for yourself, but that others seem to echo back. It's not quite anxiety, not agitation, but a muted insistence that you be composed, wise, perhaps even above reproach. There's comfort in order, in knowing what should happen next, but beneath that comfort, a subtle ache. It's the feeling of wanting to do things right and feeling, somehow, that you might miss a step. You notice it in the way you pause before offering advice, or how you second-guess whether you're being too rigid or too lenient. Maybe you're holding back a question or biding your tongue to keep the peace. Maybe you simply want to be seen as reliable, as someone who doesn't falter, even when you're quietly uncertain. The desire for steadiness is real, but so is the longing to not have to hold it all together every single moment. This week, your inner state is reflected in the presence of the Hierophant. You find yourself drawing on tradition, on what's been proven, on values you've carried for years. There's comfort in the known, in routines that have shaped you, in the wisdom that comes from things that last. You may feel a pull to uphold these standards, to be a guide, if not to others, then to yourself. This comes with a kind of dignity, a gentle pride in having made it this far, in being someone others can trust. You might even notice that people lean on you, seeking your perspective, expecting you to have answers. But with this steadiness comes a quiet tension. While you respect the boundaries that tradition sets, you may feel hemmed in by them too. There's a subtle strain in always being the grounded one, the source of reason, the voice of calm. When you sense others carrying chaos or uncertainty, you reach for the familiar framework, an old lesson, a practiced response, a family saying. You rely on what you know works. Yet in the background, you wonder if something vital is being left unsaid or unexplored. Maybe you feel a longing for a more spontaneous moment, a break from the script. Or maybe your inner voice, so used to structure, is quietly asking for space to wander. This posture isn't about perfectionism, but about honoring the role you've grown into, the one who provides, who clarifies, who holds the fort. And yet, as you hold that space, a gentle yearning for something freer, softer, begins to hum beneath the surface. You sense it most in quiet moments when the world pauses and you can almost hear your own breath. You realize that what protects you can also confine you, that there is wisdom in rules, but also in the spaces between them. This week, that paradox sits at the center of your heart, the piece of order and the ache for release. Moving from this steady, tradition-bound inner state, the texture of your days begins to shift. The comfort you find in what's tried and true becomes both a shield and a limitation. When you lean on habit, it serves you, until it doesn't. You may notice, almost in slow motion, that situations arise which test the boundaries of your chosen order. There's a ripple effect. Your pursuit of steadiness can sometimes spark friction with others who are searching for their own answers, or who need room to stretch in different directions. The more you seek certainty, the more sensitive you become to its absence around you. Every decision, every word carries a weight because it's measured against what you believe should be. It's not as if you're searching for conflict, but your carefulness can invite it. A small disagreement, a misunderstood comment, or a difference in approach may suddenly feel amplified, as if the world is asking you to defend your values. This isn't a sign that you're wrong or out of place, but rather a signal that your desire for harmony is running up against the unpredictable edges of real life. The path forward is shaped by this interplay. The more you try to keep everything in line, the more you notice the places where it frays. It's here in the meeting point of order and disruption that the next chapter of your week unfolds. As the week unfolds, the Five of Swords steps into view, bringing with it the unmistakable feeling of friction. You may find that certain conversations are tinged with tension, or that efforts to keep things calm lead to subtle power struggles. It could show up in small, everyday moments, a disagreement over priorities, a clash of opinions, or even just a sense that you're not being fully heard. The air feels charged, as if everyone is a little more sensitive, a little more invested in being right. This isn't about open conflict so much as the pressure that builds when people hold tight to their perspectives. You might notice you're more protective of your own ideas, less willing to yield ground, even in matters that used to seem simple. There's a sense that if you let go, things could unravel. At times, you might catch yourself replaying a conversation in your mind, wondering if you could have said it differently or whether it was worth the effort to hold your stance. The friction isn't constant, but it lingers beneath the surface. It's the quiet tension in a meeting, the slight edge in a loved one's tone, or the unspoken competition for whose way will win out. Even when you're not directly involved, you feel the ripple of it, sensitive to the atmosphere around you. There's a pressure to resolve things, to find consensus, but also a stubbornness that keeps people apart. Through all this, you remain aware of your role. You're used to being the one who mediates, who restores balance, who steps in with a solution. But this week, the usual tools may not work as easily. The landscape feels sharper and the usual paths more tangled. It's not defeat, but a recognition that not every situation can be smoothed over by wisdom or tradition. Sometimes the lesson is simply to feel the discomfort, to witness the struggle without rushing to fix it. When you allow this, you notice a new kind of clarity, a sense of where you stand and what really matters to you. The friction, though uncomfortable, becomes a mirror for your own boundaries, your own needs. It's in these moments that you realize you're not just reacting to others, but also learning about yourself. What comes next depends on how deeply you're willing to meet this moment. The discomfort on your path isn't a dead end, but an invitation. When you recognize the tension for what it is, a natural result of caring deeply, of wanting things to work, it loses some of its sting. In the quiet that follows a difficult conversation or the pause after a disagreement, there's an opening. You sense that something new could grow here if only you allow it. Potential for you this week is not a destination but a willingness. It lives in the heart's response to the very tension you've been feeling. The Page of Cups appears, inviting you toward a softer, more curious way of being. This is not a call to abandon what you know, but to let your inner world become a little more fluid. The invitation is gentle. What if you allowed yourself to feel without immediately analyzing or correcting? What if you let a moment of vulnerability sit just for a heartbeat longer before reaching for the familiar solution? Here, growth isn't measured by what you resolve, but by what you notice in yourself. There's possibility in letting your intuition bubble up, in listening to the small, surprising feelings that surface when you pause. The Page of Cups reminds you that you're allowed to be both wise and unguarded, to hold onto your values while also experimenting with new ways of connecting. Maybe you sense a flicker of hope, a sense that you can be surprised by yourself, that you can experience joy even in the midst of uncertainty. As you allow yourself to meet the week's challenges with openness instead of rigidity, you may find small moments of delight in the most unexpected places. A gentle word, a laugh shared after a tense exchange, a quiet realization that you don't have to know everything to be present. These are not promises of ease, but signs that you're growing more flexible, more attuned to the subtle rhythms of your own heart. All three layers of your week weave together now. The Hierophant brings the steadiness and wisdom that have carried you this far, grounding you in tradition and values that matter deeply. The Five of Swords reveals where those values are tested, where you feel the rub of other people's needs, and where your own boundaries come into sharper focus. The Page of Cups opens a door to something softer, a sense of wonder, a willingness to feel, a readiness to let go, just a little of the need to have it all figured out. You are not being asked to abandon your strengths. If anything, your ability to hold steady is what allows you to experiment with new ways of relating, of feeling, of being. The week may not be simple, but it doesn't have to be harsh. Every moment of tension is also a chance to see yourself anew, to recognize that you're not defined by one role or one expectation, but by the living, breathing choices you make as things unfold. There's a quiet reassurance in this. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to soften, to wonder, to listen more closely to your own heart. The wisdom you carry is not diminished by feeling more deeply. It's made richer, more human, more real. By the week's end, you may notice that the air feels a little lighter, the pressure a little less sharp. The path you've walked, through order, through friction, into possibility, leaves you stronger and perhaps just a little more open to what comes next. Actionable insights for Virgo this week. Let yourself pause before responding, just to notice how you feel in that moment. Try letting a small uncertainty be without reaching for an instant solution. Notice one place where you could allow a softer approach, even if it feels unfamiliar. Spoken word affirmations to repeat aloud for a more positive mindset. I honor what I know and what I feel. I let new feelings rise without rushing to fix them. I trust myself to find balance, even in tension. I am strong enough to stay open and present. And now, dear friend, I thank you for giving me your time. I truly hope I have given you something helpful in return. Goodbye and good luck until next time.